Dave DeGuzman inside the NBC4 Digital Center for the latest edition of the Digital Sports Roundtable. We have entered what I would like to call normal time. Breathing time. Joined by Whitney Harding and Joe Nugent. We will still talk about Ohio State football, shocking. But guys, have you gotten the chance to just breathe for a bit after that epic run to a national championship?
Yes, my body relaxed and I got sick. So
right?
That's about how it went.
And I was sick and I'm not sick anymore.
We made it.
I'm glad everyone is healthy. Ryan Day also has not stopped. Busy week for him. Just going all over the country, recruiting, and also making some TV appearances, including a nice little segment on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. Here's a bit of that. Probably one of the best sound bites, not the funny ones, because we'll talk about that, but probably one of the biggest takeaways from Ryan Day coming out of that little segment.
A lot of people doubted us, and the resilience of these guys to come back and win and finish, I think there's a lot of life lessons to be learned there. We get caught up in all these things, but really at the end of the day, it's about the lessons these guys are learning, and then for people to watch this team overcome, to me, that's the story of this team.
Yeah. You did a great job.
So Jimmy Fallon asking, about bouncing back from that Michigan loss, and clearly Ryan Day is like on the other side of this. When you're a national champion, you can do that now. You can kind of laugh a little bit about the past and the ability to bounce back. A lot of funny moments though from that interview with Jimmy. What were some of your favorite takeaways, guys?
I mean, the golf cart doesn't get old.
No, it doesn't. And I'm glad I wasn't the only one that thought of Austin Powers. Yeah. That also shows I'm the same generation as Ryan Day. That was the first thing I thought of was Austin Powers.
That thing is not going to go away.
Oh, that poor girl.
At any time. I thought the LeBron James stuff was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's had some life too.
Yeah, and that Day's like, hey, if it works out, LeBron, you have to start from, the bottom of the depth chart and work your way up, even though you're this NBA champ.
Right.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah, it was nice to see his sense of humor. Like it was, something that we kind of see every now and then when we're over there and doing interviews at the Woody, and he kind of is off to the side. But it's nice for everybody else to kind of see him with his, shirt unbuttoned up top a little bit, if you will.
Yeah, and you can relax. At the end of the season, there's not a game this Saturday. Totally different situation. Of course, great to talk about all the good things that have happened for this football team through the postseason.
But obviously, just relax a little bit because he was back out on the recruiting trail.
That's true.
Literally, the next day, and it's no surprise. The first stop was a 5-star offensive lineman in Missouri. No surprise there.
Nixa, Missouri.
Yeah, he's been around. He's been very, very busy. What I loved about this is because it's the first time I feel like America is really getting to know Ryan Day. Obviously, he's been the coach for a while here at Ohio State, but he hasn't reached this echelon of famous names in college football quite yet. I feel like the average Joe right here, the average person knows who Dabo is, and of course they know who Nick Saban is. I think this is a nice introduction for America to get to know Ryan Day, and really, he's funny. He's approachable. I saw him laugh his butt off next to Kelly Clarkson. I thought that was really refreshing. And, I know that, the fun and games isn't going to last forever. As soon as we get to spring ball, it's going to be serious Ryan Day, but it's just really nice to kind of get to see the person Ryan Day, who's obviously, has been through a lot. Yeah. The Buckeyes are also now looking for a defensive coordinator as of this recording. No new defensive coordinator as of yet. Jim Knowles leaving to go to Penn State. And, when I talk with the players about their reaction to him leaving, no hard feelings. They kind of get that this is a lot more of a business than it definitely was in years past. And so they kind of get it. But still, you're talking about off a national championship. How do you replace a guy who, was able to create literally the best defense that we've seen in quite some time? There's no question that this team would not have been national champions without what that unit was able to do.
Yeah.
It's not ideal, but I don't think it means that Ohio State can't be as good next year. I'm not saying they can be the number one defense in the country next year.
It's not just that. It's the guys they lose too. It's not just
yeah. And there's so much talent coming back, and we have to always remember that the players play, and whoever comes in, whoever the new defensive coordinator is, they're clearly going to shape in a way around the strengths of the players that are coming back. And talking about a ton of talent, possibly the best defensive player in the country.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's going to be kind of the question of, all right, do they want to keep doing what Jim Knowles established and they want to keep on that path, or do they want to do something different? Because if you want to keep on that path, Matt Guerreri is just sitting there, and he has done this. So there's that. Do you want Tim Walton, one of the best recruiters on the team? I think it's probably between him and Brian Hartline, if you're thinking about who brings in the most excitement. So you've got a couple guys on staff who could probably fill in those shoes, or do you go out and do you bring somebody in with recent NFL experience or things like that? Like it just kind of depends on what you want.
Yeah, and Walton doesn't have recent NFL experience as defensive coordinator.
Some,
but I mean, he was a DC about 10 years ago for 1 year in the NFL, so he's also done the job. I just think, whatever it ends up being, whether it's sort of a hybrid situation, you promote from within, maybe you have two co-defensive coordinators, I mean, we've seen that before with several teams. Or if you come outside, or if you go outside of the program and bring somebody in, I think you're shaping your defense around what you have, which is very similar to the strengths of the defense from last year.
Yeah, especially if you're going to keep it the same as it is. I mean, you do have the best safety in all of college football. It's a very safety-heavy defense. If that's what you want to lean into, that strength, sure. And Larry Johnson's going to have the front ready to go as best he can anyway.
Yeah, see Edric.
I mean, when you have a guy like Caleb Downs obviously coming back, and Sonny Styles deciding to come back instead of declaring for the NFL draft, you wonder how much input those guys kind of get, because obviously, at the end of the day, it's going to be Ryan Day's decision and the coaching staff to figure out what's going to be best for them to produce the same kind of defense that you saw in this championship run. At the same time, though, you're right. There's a lot of new faces that are probably going to be either stepping up or you're going to get from the transfer portal. So in that case, do you kind of maybe see an outside route where someone comes from outside and can, reinvigorate this defense? So, I mean, there's definitely a pros and cons list. I'm sure they're thinking about it right now. So going to be interesting to see what they'll do in the next couple of weeks. Let's talk about basketball, shall we? That's something we haven't really done before. How about first the Ohio State men? I mean, it was heartbreaking loss after heartbreaking loss. And now all of a sudden, they're in a 3-game winning streak. And what's really cool to see in these last 2 games, they haven't had to go to the very end of a game. They've allowed themselves to breathe a bit, coming off of the win on the road against Penn State and then winning at home against Iowa. I think there's some new life in this Ohio State men's basketball team, don't you think?
The defense has been extremely strong the last 2 games against Iowa Monday night and Penn State on the road. I think that's played a big difference in them. And, it's a team that, kind of started from scratch at the beginning of the year.
It's taken some time.
So, we just saw it in football, a team getting better throughout the year. So, patience, I think, is important from the fan base. And they've got a chance here to really go on a run. There's 10 games to go in the regular season. There's only 1 game against a ranked team. That is going to be the next game against Illinois.
It's a very front-heavy schedule.
Yeah, and only half of the games that are left in the Big Ten are against teams in the top half of the conference. So, you beat a couple good teams, you could go 7-3 coming down the stretch, and you're going to be in great shape.
I mean, the Penn State win was a quad 1 win. If anybody knows what quad 1 means, great. I saw it was a quad 1 win, so I'm going to use the terminology. It was. People that make tournament choices look at that kind of thing. I mean, I guess they know what it means.
100%.
I mean, when I think of quad 1, I think of Foursquare, the recess game. But yeah, it was a very front heavy schedule, and I honestly, while beating Texas was a great win, I think it almost in the mindset of fans watching this team did a disservice, because you're thinking, oh my gosh, yes, and then they. But unlike the last years where they
sound effects, by the way.
Well, I mean. Yeah. But in the last years, when we've seen them get these awesome wins over Duke, over those kinds of teams, and then it's you hit January and that's not the case this year. They've gotten some of those big wins. They've had the dips, but now they have started to really kind of gel and come together. The freshmen are starting to kind of not just make big shots, but figure out where to be on the court. And that sounds simple, but it's really not when you're learning a new scheme and you're going up against bigger, competitors and things like that. So it really is starting, it feels to come together.
And they just need a stronger presence inside. I think that's the only thing that's missing here. They're working on it.
Need some more Aaron Bradshaw like in the paint.
Yeah.
I agree with both of you guys because they know how good they can be. They've beaten Texas, they've beaten Kentucky, but obviously I think they were getting frustrated down the stretch, especially when you lose a large lead against Oregon and you're like, how did I get in this spot in the first place? From talking to the players, it sounds like they've really honed in on accountability and player-led accountability, and I think that's starting to make a big difference. And I think the less that Jake has to say to the group and the players can really like fight for each other and fight for themselves, it's really starting to make a difference. And I also wonder if the fact that they don't have to go all the way down to the wire, maybe that's an incentive for them to really keep their foot on the gas for all 40 minutes so that you don't have to be in a situation where you're fighting for fouls or you're trying to figure out how you're going to get possession in the last couple of seconds. I think there's incentive there knowing that they can win without having to go all the way down like a March Madness style thing. Now, don't get me wrong, they're going to be in those situations again, but I think if you can prevent being in that situation, and then maybe you can be a little more free and loose and, not have to think about what are we going to do with 10 seconds left. I think that's going to be a big difference. Last one, Ohio State women's basketball. They've been on a roll since that kind of surprise loss to Penn State. I think that was a big wake-up call for them, and now you're really starting to see a team that's really stepping up even more. I mean, I want to say that loss was kind of a blip on the radar, but it was probably, now that you look back on it, maybe much needed because maybe they were kind of taking things for granted. I don't know. What do you guys think as they go into a home matchup this weekend against Washington?
Yeah. I genuinely thought their first loss of the season was going to be one that we all went with. I didn't think their first loss was going to be like a big team. Like I really thought it was going to be kind of a hiccup because it's so easy to keep going. If you're winning, to kind of keep things the same and not necessarily keep them the same while getting better. And I think that loss was like we do need to keep pushing. We do need to keep getting better, especially with the press and defensively, and everything. I think has kind of maybe reopened their eyes since that loss. And then after this Washington game, man, it is the gauntlet because they got to go out west and they've got to face USC and UCLA. And both of those teams are no joke. I mean, USC boasts quite possibly the best player in college basketball. So those are going to be big tests. But I feel like now they've kind of got that, not just confidence, but that reinvigorated competitiveness within them.
They're really fun to watch. I really like what they're able to do on the court, and I'm exhausted when I go see them, and it's like they're pressing for that long, and like I get exhausted because it's like, how do they keep up that composure, for all 40 minutes? And I'm like, how are you not tired? But it's funny, like they work on this so much in practice, so I feel like you put any team next to them, and it's like you'll see teams like keep it close for like that first half, and then all of a sudden they kind of fade away. I do wonder like how much film they look back on with that Penn State loss, and I wonder what's going to happen now as they start to face those tougher teams. I mean, going out on the West Coast, that's going to be. I mean, that USC game, I'm really looking forward to that game because first off, you have stars. It's going to be not quite as big as last year's game against against Iowa with a Caitlin Clark, but I think that's probably the next best thing that we're going to get, and I'm just looking forward to that one. So
it's going to be great, and I think that everybody's realizing that Jelani Cambridge is as advertised. Yeah. She is absolutely electric. She can go from one end of the floor to the other so fast with the basketball. And it's just so much fun to watch her. I can't wait to see her and Cody go up against Juju. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully a positive experience. Because if you have not watched USC's Juju Watkins, she is
so good.
Amazing.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. It's nice to catch up, guys. I'm sure somehow Ohio State football will insert itself back into the conversation pretty soon. But we also have the Blue Jackets, who seem to be doing pretty well. Especially we have the that Stadium Series game coming up, and I mean, just we're always busy. The crew's coming back too, so we have that.
Here we go.
For Whitney Harding and Joe Nugent and David DeGuzman, we'll catch you next time on the NBC4 Sports Digital Roundtable.